Hi there, and welcome. In today's episode, we are excited to share 4 meal ideas with you. With the cold weather last week, we decided to cozy up with some of our personal favorite meals. I'll drop the links to the originals in the description box below, and make sure to note any major changes or substitutions we make. So let's dive right into it. First up, we have the Bang Bang Salmon. We begin by drying and seasoning the fish. I'm using onion powder, paprika, black pepper, garlic powder, and a little bit of salt. I'm also going to add a touch of olive oil to get all the spices distributed well. Next, we are going to make the Bang Bang sauce. With just 3 simple ingredients, this is incredibly easy to make and makes a delicious, tangy, and spicy sauce. To prepare this flavorful sauce, start by combining half a cup of mayonnaise with 1/4 of a cup of a sweet chili sauce. These 2 ingredients provide a creamy and sweet base. To add a kick of heat, mix in 2 tablespoons of sriracha. Then we stir until everything is well combined and we have a smooth consistency. I recommend adjusting the spiciness according to your taste buds. The 2 tablespoons we added made the sauce on a spicier side for sure. Once the sauce is ready, we spoon some of the sauce evenly over the top. This makes quite a bit of sauce, so we reserve the rest for the rice. Here, I make sure not to touch the salmon with my spoon, so I don't contaminate the sauce. We spread it out with a spoon evenly and roast for 12 minutes at 425 degrees Fahrenheit. So I don't usually do this, but I had a little bit of extra broccoli laying in my fridge, and I ended up adding it to the sheet pan. Next, we're going to make some quick and easy jasmine rice. This is now the only way I make jasmine rice. It turns out so good. Here, I'm getting 1 1/4 cup of water to a boil. Once the water comes to boil, I add 1 cup of jasmine rice and I lower the heat to a medium-low. We cover and cook for 12 minutes. Once the rice is cooked, we remove it from the heat, making sure not to lift the lid. We let it sit for 10 to 20 minutes, and then we fluff it with a rice paddle or a fork. Now, our delicious meal is ready to come together. We start by placing a generous serving of rice on each plate as the base. Next, we arrange the perfectly cooked salmon on top of the rice and add a side of steamed broccoli. To bring the components together, we drizzle some additional sauce over the salmon and rice, ensuring each bite is full of flavor. On Tuesday, we made our favorite Cajun pork chops. To begin, we season both sides of our pork chops with salt, pepper, and some Cajun seasoning. The Cajun seasoning is definitely optional here, but we do love the extra kick that it adds to it. So here, as you can see, I'm melting 2 tablespoons of butter and browning the pork chops. The original recipe calls for bone-in, thick-cut pork chops, but we just used what we had in the freezer. Since mine are on the smaller side, they did not need as much time to cook. So we adjusted the cooking time to ensure they remain juicy and tender, avoiding overcooking. We ended up cooking them for only 2 minutes per side. Once the pork chops are browned, we remove them to a plate and add 1 diced onion and a whole 8-ounce packet of mushrooms instead of the 4 that the recipe calls for. We season them with a touch of salt and pepper to taste and saute them for 5 minutes. In the meantime, we prepare our chicken stock. Today, we just used 1 teaspoon of chicken bouillon powder and a cup of hot water. Once the onions and mushrooms were cooked, we ended up adding the chicken stock to the pan to deglaze it. We also add 3 bay leaves and the pork chops back to the pan. We lower our heat to a low simmer and we simmer the pork chops for about 15 minutes since our pork chops are on a smaller side and didn't need as much time to cook. Once the pork chops were cooked, we removed them to a plate and increased the heat to a medium-high to reduce the sauce. I know this recipe stated to skim the fat, but we have never done this. Here we remove the bay leaves and add 8 ounces of sour cream, 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, and about 2 tablespoons of Cajun seasoning, but you of course season to your own preference. We stir to combine and we cook until the sauce thickens and reaches the consistency that we like. Lastly, we add the pork chops back to the pan for a few minutes to warm them up. We serve this over some mashed potatoes, which is definitely our favorite way of eating this dish. This is hubby's favorite and we make it pretty often. Yet he still savors every bite with the same enthusiasm as the first time I've ever made it. Next up, we made some tom yum chicken wings, which we serve with french fries. We start by preheating the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. We prepare the chicken wings by seasoning them with some salt, pepper, and drizzling a little bit of olive oil on top. I go in with my hands and just mix everything really well. So the oven is still preheating and it's a great time to make our sauce. For the sauce, we only need 2 ingredients. The first being sweet chili sauce. We need 3/4 of a cup of that and 2 tablespoons of tom yum paste. Now all we have left is to mix the sauce well. It's ready for us. The oven is now preheated and we bake the wings for 35 minutes. Once the chicken wings have baked for 35 minutes, we remove them from the oven, and I like to add them to a large pan so I can add the sauce we made. We get them well coated in the sauce, and I like to cook the wings for about 5 minutes on a medium heat to get a glaze-like consistency. Lastly, we line them up on a baking sheet and cook them for another 10 minutes. And that's it, guys. Our delicious chicken wings are ready to be served. Lastly, on Thursday, we made one of our favorite pastas. This is a combination of our pesto ranch marinade and Alfredo sauce, which I will link below. We start by drizzling a little bit of olive oil and pan frying the chicken about 3 to 4 minutes per side. I often also use an indoor grill to cook the chicken, so just use whichever method works for you. Once the chicken is cooked, we remove it to a plate, and now we are ready to make our Alfredo sauce. I am adding a half a stick or 4 tablespoons of butter and melting it. I'm also adding a handful of homegrown and dried parsley, as I did not have any fresh parsley at home. Just use what you have. Here I'm adding a few teaspoons of garlic and cooking it for a minute or so. And now we are ready for our cream. I'm going in with a whole pint of heavy whipping cream, as we like our pasta on a saucier side. We bring the temperature down so that the liquid can simmer. We reduce the liquid for about 15 to 20 minutes. Just remember, the longer it cooks, the more it will reduce. So check back frequently for the consistency that you prefer. So now it's time to make the pasta. Here I'm using giggly pasta. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But a lot of times we usually do penne or fettuccine. So just use whichever pasta that you like. And now for the finishing touches. I'm going in with a little bit of black pepper and salt to taste, just to make sure that the sauce is to my liking. Lastly, I'm going to add a half a cup of Parmesan cheese and get it incorporated well in my sauce. As you can see, we added the pasta into our sauce and now we're just cutting the chicken. We truly thank you for joining us, and we hope that we have inspired you to try at least one of these wonderful dishes. Until next time.